Hello and welcome back to the Squash Bagel. So today we're going to be covering the GrowthPoint South African National Tournament, which was held in Cape Town at the V&A Waterfront in a mall on a glass court with 17-inch PSA tin. Basically, in a nutshell, we will be covering the following. We have a new ladies champion. Deol Fanikak was able to retain his championship as the men's overall winner. There were a couple of unexpected results in the ladies section. Today, what we're going to cover is the seeds going into the tournament, some of the results as well as unexpected results on the men's and ladies side. And last but not least, it's not a squash bagel video if we don't talk about some of the squash rackets as well as equipment used throughout the weekend. So without further ado, let's get into it. So on the ladies side, on the 10th of August or the 9th, or I guess any time before the tournament started, we had a ladies top 8. And if you're not too sure how it goes, each province or there would be a qualifying region which would have a regional tournament, and based on the results and the winners of the regional tournament. So based on the results and winners of the regional tournament, each of the 8 regions, the winners from each region, which would be the 8 regions, would actually go towards this national tournament. So going into the tournament, we had number 1 seed being Hayley Ward, who is from PE, but I believe she won the regionals in the Western Cape. Alex Pinar from SACD, so she would have obviously won her regional tournament, but was seeded 2 for the tournament. Tegan Rue, who grew up in Queenstown, and I won't say know her well, but obviously we come from the same town. She's based in Johannesburg now, but she was seeded 3. Monet Lowe, who has played this tournament a number of times, so she's got a lot of experience going into this tournament. She was seeded at 4. Keisha Skorgi, not too familiar with her, but obviously I have seen her play. I think it was at a PSA tournament here in Port Elizabeth. She was going in as the number 5 seed. Lena Kutsia, who's also still quite young. She's still a student at the University of Pretoria, my alma mater. She came in at 6. Shalumi Truter, who is a representative of South African country districts. I don't know too much about her, but she was seated at 7. And then Savannah Ingledew, who is a very promising junior. She also had obviously some impressive results over the weekend or over the week during this tournament. She only comes in at the age of 18, was based in South Africa, or still is, I guess. That is her home, but she got a scholarship to Epsom College in the UK and has been playing in a couple of tournaments that side. I believe she even won the Scottish Junior Open, if I'm not mistaken. She has grown up here, but is playing a lot of squash in the UK, obviously getting a couple of impressive results and probably learning quite a lot. And her transfer to the UK has been a big success because she is able to at least learn from, I guess, I don't want to call it better, but yes, there are a lot more opportunities with the UK and England being the home of squash. So that's where she's based. You can definitely see a big change in her game. That was on the ladies' side. On the men's side, we had Deol Fanikak. I've obviously spoken a lot about Deol himself. Grew up here in Port Elizabeth, but is based in Johannesburg. Deol had the opportunity of going to the UK to play some squash there for a couple of months just before the World Championships or the World Tournament. He was with Nick Matthews, so he's obviously had a bit of time to train with him and learn a lot from him. I think he was also with, I can't remember his name, but there's the New Zealand youngster. I know there are 2 of them. There's Temwa Chileshe and his brother. So I know that he was playing a lot of squash with them and training with them, and also with Miguel Rodriguez. So we know Deol by now. You know, he is the national champion. He was the champion last year, and obviously I have leaked the fact that he won it this year. But yeah, we all know who Deol is. Christo Potgieter, who won the Masters, I think it was the age group 35 to 40. He won the World Championship last year. He comes in seeded at 2. Although age 36, I guess he's playing some of the best squash of his life. He's in a real run of form over the past few years, but we've also known him in South Africa for quite a long period of time. There's Ron Olivier, who also had a bit of time overseas earlier this year, playing a couple of tournaments. And he also heads up him, Ray Dlamini, as well as Simpiwe, the New Age Academy in Johannesburg. Ray Dlamini being the squash coach of the year in 2023. So yeah, Ron and Ray, I know them. I know Ray obviously quite well, and I have had a lot of conversations with Ron through my partnership or my friendship with Ray. Damon Groenewald, who I only met this year, although I had seen him play last year at one of the PSA tournaments, but I only met him this year. Really exciting player. I really love his technique. I really like his style of play. Something a bit different. I won't say similar to Christo, but I think he's got a good blend between Deol's structured game as well as Christo's shot making
ability. Rudy van Niekerk was seeded 5 going into the tournament. He's also from Port Elizabeth. He's at the same squash club that I am at. So as you can see, or if you did not know, and it's not obvious for everyone by the surname, but yes, dear Rudy is Dierwold van Niekerk's older brother. And then they also have the sister Lizelle Miller, who has also won the nationals before. So it's a great squash family. Rudy taking some time away from squash over the last 2 years, and he's come back with a vengeance, obviously making it to the men's top 8. He came in seeded 5. Justin Groothuis seeded 6, also a veteran in the sport amongst the squash players in South Africa. He was seeded as number 6. Lawrence Kuhn, who has been based in America for the last few years, has come back to South Africa. I don't know if it's permanently or just for the squash tournaments, but he was based in Free State and is playing for Free State, the GrowthPoint IPT, which I was part of 4 weeks ago. But yeah, he came in seeded 7th, and then John T. Mateus, who I also played against before, very wonderful individual. I think he's found himself in a good purple patch of form, and he's been playing really good squash. He came in seeded 8th.
And yeah, those were the seedings going into the tournament. We can probably cover the ladies section first and talk about some of the results that happened over the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
So going to the first day, we had Tegan Rue, who we mentioned was seeded 3, playing Helena Kutsia. Obviously beating her 3-love. I won't say obviously, but yeah, Helena is quite a competitive player, but Tegan is also quite a force to be reckoned with, has a very, I won't say unique style of play, but very disciplined, and she's very mature in the way that she approaches the game. And Helena, obviously still being young, still has a bit to learn, but Tegan obviously was able to defeat her 3-love. First upset of the day was actually Shalomi Truter, who was seeded 7th, and she took out the number 2 seed, being Alexa Pina, and beat her 3-1. So I watched that. I'm not too sure what was wrong with Alexa. She did not seem to be energetic. So, there were rumors of, I won't say food poisoning, but people being sick and stuff like that on the first day. And, who knows, maybe it's the Cape Town water or what it is. There are a lot of factors that can contribute towards it. The glass court, the different conditions, the fact that we're using a lower inch tin. But it is a PSA tournament, so, it's something that the players have to prepare for. But yeah, Shalomi Truter, who was seeded 7th, took out the number 2 seed, 3-1. Ruan Olivier beat Justin Groothuis 3-love. Although it was 3-love, you can see the game scores were quite close, 11-8, 11-7, 11-8. Christa Potgieter beat Lawrence Kuhn, which was going to be an exciting game. And obviously, I'll put links down to the Squash SA YouTube channel, so you can actually go back and watch some of these games if they do interest you, to see some of the upsets as well as some of the really close games, which I'm going to mention as we keep on going. But yeah, Christu and Lawrence, it was going to be an exciting affair because they both have a very unique style of play. Christu very flashy, a big shot maker. Lawrence a little bit more of a, I want to call it a squash purist per se, but he loves analyzing technique and looking at technique. And he's also got a very unique way of playing. He's played a lot of squash in America itself and has done quite well. So yeah, that was also a very interesting game to watch, but Christu just proved to be too experienced for him and beat him 3-love. Mulnay Lowe, who was seeded 4. So the 4 and 5 seeds in this type of tournament is always going to be a close game. You never know who's going to come out on top, but Mulnay Lowe was able to defeat Keisha 3-love. Then the biggest upset of them all was Savannah Ingledew versus Hayley Ward. So Savannah being that 18-year-old that I spoke about, based in Epsom, based in the UK. She took out the number 1 seed, and Hayley is probably the women's number 1, if you have to obviously exclude Alexandra Fuller, who is playing overseas. She's part of the PSA. I think she's somewhere top 30 in the world, top 25 in the world. She didn't come down. She was a previous champion last year. She didn't come down. But yeah, Savannah and Hayley had a really, really tough game. A lot of interesting calls by the referee. And as you can see in the last game, their 5th set, 13-11 to Savannah. Savannah played really well. And I guess one thing that I thought that she did well was really execute when she was given opportunities, and she really retrieved a lot. So obviously her being young, getting a lot stronger and getting trained overseas, you can see that come through in a game, and she was just really, really strong. And yeah, she took out Hayley Ward, who was the number 1 seed, so that was another upset of the day, the fact that the number 7 took out the number 2 seed, as well as the number 8 took out the number 1 seed. That was a 3-2 win for Savannah. Damien Groenewald, who was seed 4, played Rudy van Niekerk. Damien just proved to be a little bit more explosive. It was also quite an interesting game to watch because of the style of play of both individuals. Very dynamic, going for, I won't say a lot of shots per se, but they open up the court. They're not scared to open up the court because of their excellent movement and speed. They're not afraid to give their opponent an opportunity to play a ball by giving them angles, because they know they've got excellent fetching ability. And yeah, unfortunately for Rudy, Damien was just a bit stronger than him on the day, a bit faster, a little bit more powerful. Made a few less mistakes than Rudy did, and that took him through. So he obviously retained his seeding as number 4. Then Devold played Jonty Matthys. Jonty Matthys, as I mentioned, quite a strong player. He's gone through a purple patch of form. He's playing really, really good squash at the moment. But he's also Devold's training partner. They train a lot together, play a lot together. So I think, although he gave Devold a bit of a challenge, I don't think there was anything new that Jonty was going to obviously show Devold to surprise him. Based on the, I guess, results of the matches early in the day, there were pool matches. Lawrence played Justin Goveloos, and he managed to win that one, I believe, 3-1. Hayley Ward, unfortunately, who was the number 1 seed, played Keisha Skorgi. She won that one, 3-love. And then Jonty Matthys played Rudy Fanikak. And Jonty, as I mentioned, was the number 8 seed. He beat Rudy, who was seeded number 5. So that's actually quite a really good result for Jonty himself. And yeah, that was Thursday. As I said, 2 upsets, not so much on the men's side, but 2 big upsets on the ladies section. And the whole question around it was,
even the commentators were saying that as much as Shalomi and Savannah had obviously caused an upset, with them being seeded 7 and 8, were they able to sort of keep their position a bit higher up? Because if it was a, let's say, fluke, then they would obviously lose those positions going forward the next day. So I guess that's the big thing about tournaments like this, where there's a lot of eyes on you, you're in a new environment, it's inside a more fully glass court, which we aren't always privileged to have access to in South Africa itself. So those might be some of the factors towards players not executing and playing the way they normally do. Unfortunately, for some of those higher ranked, highly seeded players, they were unfortunate to lose their seeding, and that meant that things were going to be very interesting going into day 3 of the Nationals.
Briefly looking at day 2, we had Rudy Fanikak, who obviously lost his number 5 seed to Jonty Matthys. He played Lawrence Kuhn, and I think Rudy just proved to be a little bit faster, a little bit stronger, a little bit more durable than Lawrence at the moment. Lawrence hasn't been playing as much as he used to in the past, and I think he's making sort of a big comeback right now. But unfortunately, Rudy was just a bit too strong, a little bit too fast, a little bit too fit for him. And obviously, they had both played a match the previous day, a pool match. So yeah, Rudy was able to defeat Lawrence 3-love. Helena Kutsia had to play Keisha Skorgi. Let's see that there was a 3-1 win for Helena. Jonty Matthys played Justin Goveloos. And as I said, Jonty playing really good squash at the moment, so he did well. He won that one 3-love. On the women's side, Shalomi Truter beat Tegan Rue. So, in terms of the whole surprise on the first day, this was also another major upset with Shalomi, which was seeded 7th. Obviously, she took out the number 2 seed, but she also defeated the number 3 seed, 3-1. So you can see 10 or 12-10 in the first one. Well, Tegan took that one 12-10, so that was an epic match. Shalomi returned with 11-6 win, and then she came through with a 12-10 win and then 11-8 win afterwards. So she cemented her number 2 position now that she had obviously taken out Alexa Pina. Christo Potgieter played Ron Olivier. Unfortunately for Rolly, just wasn't his day. I have seen them play obviously tougher games against each other, but as I said, Christo is also playing some of the best squash that I've seen him play. He's in some of the best conditioning I've seen him in for a while, and he won that one 3-love. Savannah Ingledew, as we mentioned, who was seeded 8, took out the number 1 seed, Hayley Ward. She was able to retain her number 1 seed by beating Milne Low 3-1. So yeah, she took that one 11-8, lost the second one 11-7, came back 11-7, 11-5. So that was actually a really solid performance. As I mentioned, she's been playing really good squash from what I saw. You can see a lot of growth in her game, and that was quite surprising. So that meant that Shalomi as well as Savannah, who were the 7 and 8 seed, moved all the way to the final. On the men's side, there was also quite a scare. Devold, who's the number 1 seed, playing Damien Groenewald, who I mentioned earlier, had a really good game against Rudy Fanikak. Devold only won that one 3-2. Damien was able to take him to 5. Although the last game, you can see Devold obviously won that 11-5, but I don't think it was an easy task. I don't think anyone had pictured that result between the two. And I think that just goes down to how hard it is to play against Devold. He just keeps grinding you and grinding you and grinding you. And he has that engine and the discipline to play that sort of squash, which makes the game long. and he'll wait and be patient for any opportunity that he can, or the right opportunity, in order to finish the point. So Devil came out on that one with a bit of a scare, obviously. So the first one went 16-14 to Devil, really close. Also another game that I'd advise to watch on their streaming links. You can obviously catch those games on their channel itself under the live section. I'll probably put links to Squash SA's website or Squash SA's YouTube channel below. Give them a follow and a subscription. Devil took the first one 16-14. Damon came back 11-9. Devil took it 11-8, 11-5, sorry. Damon came back and took that one 11-8. And then Devil at the end obviously proved too strong, too fit, too powerful. And I won't say it was a walk in the park, but 11-5 I think seems like it was an easy win, but pushing Devil to a 3-2 victory is quite an achievement for such a young player who's only 19, Devil being 26, a little bit more seasoned. He's obviously had a bit of time overseas. Damien has also played a bit overseas. I think he's won a Spanish Junior Open, so he's played a lot of junior tournaments. He's trained in the Netherlands, Spain. He's spent a lot of time overseas last year playing in a couple of tournaments and doing a bit of training. I see, not to say he's big friends, but I see he is friends with Paul Cole as well. They follow each other on Instagram. I saw a comment from Paul Cole on one of his posts, so he is one of the youngsters to look out for in the squash SAC. Hopefully it's something that he can pursue and pursue squash so that it becomes a profession, but a really impressive result. But yeah, as you'll see now, I think that 5 sets obviously took a lot out of him. On the finals day, we had a couple of matches. So Haley defeated Helena Kutsia. So yeah, as much as she was a number 1 seed, with her surprise loss on day 1, she managed to finish 5th. So she obviously won the rest of her matches, which she should have definitely. Rudy Fanikak came through and beat Justin Quivelos. So he obviously at least played a little bit better than the first 2 days. He obviously had tougher competition and was able to secure the 6th spot. Jonty Mateus defeated Lawrence Kuhn. 3 loves, so I believe Jonty finished, 5th? Must have, yeah. So Jonty must have finished 5th. He beat Lawrence Kuhn 3 love. Ruan Olivier played against Damien Furtebalt, which was going to be an interesting match because earlier in the year, Damien had defeated Ruan going to the GrowthPoint IPT. Ruan was playing at number 2 and Damien was playing number 1 for his province. But as mentioned, I think a 5-set against Devil will definitely put some fatigue in your legs. So Ruan finished 3rd. Yeah, he beat Damien 3-1. One thing that was quite frustrating was that the stream sort of stopped during that match, so I was waiting to find out what the result was. I had to actually message Ruan to find out what the result was. So him and Ray actually responded to me and they got back to me to say that, yeah, Ruan had, got the job done and had won 3-1. So I didn't get to catch the last 2 games because, as I said, the stream obviously died out at that point. And then, yeah, it came down to the final. Savannah Ingledew played a phenomenal final, just proving too strong for Shalomi, even though, as I mentioned, Shalomi did well to beat Tegan. She did well to beat Alexa. Savannah obviously doing the same, beating Haley as well as Monet. Unfortunately for Shalomi, Savannah was just too strong, defeating her in three games to love, 11-4, 11-5, 11-3. So I won't say it was quite quick, but Savannah was just on point on the day. She didn't let the conditions, I'm sure she's probably a little bit more accustomed to those conditions. Lower tin, playing on a glass court. Yeah, so she was able to win the final 3 loves, and she's the new ladies champion. And then on Devil's side, obviously, he played Christu. Really, really interesting match. And I think that's where Devils really shines. He just keeps on playing his game. He knows that eventually it's going to pay dividends, being able to grind, fetch everything, make the person do work. As you can see, the first game was obviously a lot longer, 11-9. There were periods where I thought Christu did really well, where he slowed things down. But unfortunately, with someone who is a shot maker, sometimes they can be undisciplined and make a lot of errors. And I think that was the downfall of Christu. Obviously, Devils made him work hard, and it's not that Christu made those errors per se, but when you're working hard and you're running left, right, and center, and the rallies are long, you're going to make a mistake, or Devils will force you to look for something risky because you always know he's going to be there. He's going to fetch every ball. Even if he doesn't fetch it, just to make you sort of doubt yourself, you'll keep on pushing up until you become uncomfortable. And you could see that, first game really tight, afterwards 11-4, 11-5. I think it was the end of the first game, you could see where it was around 9-all. You could see Devils really playing that sort of length that doesn't clip the sidewall at all, just really face towards the back, stretching the court, making it feel long, being patient, putting the ball down the line, not getting bored of it, and basically coaxing Krista to either make a mistake or to sort of change the pattern and then force a loose shot, and then Devils was just clinical enough to put it down. and not even finish it, just force Christo to run and fetch the ball again up until the point that, he's going to try snatch at something or make a mistake. That was the first game. I guess the second game, there's not much you can do against Dewald. It just gets worse from then on. That's why I was very surprised with the Damien's result, because Damien was obviously able to take it to 5. But yeah, eventually Dewald just kept on grinding him out, and unfortunately, there wasn't much that Christo was able to do at the end. And yeah, he lost the final 3-love. So 3-love victory for Shalomi, 3-love victory for Dewald. And yeah, that was a great period of squash over the weekend. Yeah, so with regards to equipment, as I said, wouldn't be a squash bagel video if we didn't talk about some of the equipment being used. Technifibers seem to reign supreme overall amongst the top 8 players, especially in the men's side. I believe 5 out of the 8 players were all playing Technifibers. Yeah, there was one Harrow, that's Rudy Fanikak, he uses a Harrow Vapor. There was one Salming Racket, so Justin Huervelos. I'm not too sure of the model of the mate, but he uses a Salming Racket. And then probably the most surprising is Ron Olivier, who uses the Decathlon perfly. I think with some Technifiber strings, it looks like the Technifiber 3 or 5s in there. So that's probably the most surprising squash racket out of the lot. As I mentioned, Technifiber reigns supreme in the men's section. 5 out of the 8 players playing with the Technifiber. Dewald with the X-Top 125, the Mohamed Al-Shabagi version. Damien as well as Christo play with the 125 with the Noor Shabini version with the thinner handle. So I think I have the Airshaft Noor Shabini version. But I also saw a very popular string being the Technifiber X1 biphase string. So Dewald uses that one. I've spoken to him about that, and out of all the strings, he says that's the number 1 string for him. Christopher Hita as well as Damien also using the X1 biphase. So on my current racket, which is the Airshaft NS, I'm also using the X1 biphase. I've had it in for about 2 weeks. I'm still going to do a review about that string, but yeah, I can understand why they enjoy that. I think for me, that's probably replaced the 305 string, in my opinion, as the best string, at least my personal preference. I am hoping to do a video with the string doctor, John Sharp, about strings. So I guess if you've got any other questions around strings that you want the string doctor to answer, please comment in the video below, and we can hopefully pass the message on, or I can ask the questions at least when I do the video with him. On the ladies' side, I think there was a lot more variety. I think we only had 3 out of the 8 players using Technifiber. Half of the players in the tournament, so the 8 ladies, 8 men, 5 in the 8, 3 in the ladies, that gives you 8 out of 16. So half the players were using Technifiber, and then the rest would be spread out amongst the other brands. I think there were 3 Harrow rackets, so yeah, 3 Technifibers in the ladies, 3 Harrow rackets. On the ladies' side, I think Shalomi as well as Keisha and then Haley Ward all using Harrow rackets. And then I think the other 2 rackets that were in use were the Dunlop. So Monet uses a Dunlop, and I think Helena is definitely a Dunlop sponsored player. A lot of the Tux players would use Dunlop rackets, so yes, Helena is also a Dunlop player. So yeah, that I guess covers the equipment being used. As I mentioned, hopefully doing a video with the string doctor, John Sharp. So if you have any questions about strings itself, so if you have any questions around strings that you've always wanted to ask, please let me know now before we obviously finalize the details of that video, and then I can hopefully ask, if it is obviously a relevant and good question, I can hopefully ask that in the chat that we're about to have and put out on the channel. But that's about it regarding the GrowthPoint tournament. As I mentioned, I'll leave links to their channel so that you can watch some of the videos for some of the interesting matches that took place over the weekend. And till next time, take care and good luck. Cheers.